King Charles III diagnosed with cancer. Russia-China accused US of stoking tensions in West Asia. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm SAHIH and you're watching World Today. King Charles III has been diagnosed with cancer and has begun treatment. This was announced by Buckingham Palace in a statement without elaborating on the type of cancer found or how advanced it was, sparking a flood of support from around the world. Charles, who became king upon the death of his 96-year-old mother, Queen Elizabeth II, on 8 September 2022, has generally enjoyed good health, bearing injuries from polo and skiing. But the palace said that during his recent hospital procedure for benign prostate enlargement, a separate issue of concern was noted. The palace said the king remains wholly positive and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible. The palace added that Charles had been advised by doctors to postpone public duties, although he would continue to undertake state business and official paperwork as usual. The shock announcement sparked messages of support, with Charles' estranged son, Prince Harry, saying he had spoken with his father and would visit him soon. Harry, the younger of Charles' two sons with the late Princess Diana, who now lives in California with his wife Meghan, said he would travel to see the king in the UK over the coming days. Charles won plaudits last month for being open about his benign prostate condition, with doctors saying many more members of the public had come forward with symptoms. He was discharged from a London hospital after a 3-night stay for corrective surgery a week ago. Chile began 2 days of national mourning Monday for at least 122 victims of raging wildfire as the search continued for the missing while survivors picked through the scorched remains of their lives. President Gabriel Boric said all of Chile weeps for Valparaiso as the central coastal region reeled from the weekend inferno that has become the world's third deadliest wildfire this century. Crowded hilltop neighborhoods that overlook the tourist hotspot found themselves without electricity and with limited water, the streets strewn with charred cars, debris and ash. Volunteers streamed to the worst hit areas to help families, rescue pets and deliver food, water and tents. Meanwhile, rescue workers scoured rubble for further victims. The State Forensic Agency on Monday reported the toll stood at 122 dead, with only 32 of the victims identified. Boric had warned on Sunday that the earlier death toll of 112 could rise significantly. Most of the deaths have been in Vina del Mar, a popular tourist spot known for its beaches and botanical gardens. The town's mayor, Macarena Ripamonti, told reporters on Sunday that 190 people are still missing in the city. Canadian police confirmed Monday charges against 5 current and former NHL players over an alleged 2018 gang rape and apologized for the 6 years it took to investigate the accusations. The players, who were part of Canada's junior national ice hockey team at the time, issued 1 count of sexual assault. Those charged are Michael McLeod and Carl Foot of the New Jersey Devils, Calgary Flames forward Dylan Dube, Philadelphia Flyers goaltender Carter Hart, and Alex Formenton, formerly of the Ottawa Senators, who now plays in Switzerland. The 5 players are accused of sexually assaulting a young woman at a London, Ontario hotel after a Hockey Canada gala in June 2018.
The initial investigation conducted from June 2018 to February 2019 concluded without charges, as it was determined by investigators at that time that there were insufficient grounds to lay a charge. This decision led to the case being closed.
According to lead investigator Catherine Dan, the police investigation was closed without charges in 2019, but a second look at the case, following a Hockey Canada scandal and public uproar, uncovered additional evidence and more witnesses that led to the charges. She said all 5 suspects surrendered to police last week and have been released pending the trial. Russia and China accused the United States during a UN Security Council meeting yesterday of stoking already high tensions in the West Asia with its recent retaliatory strikes on Iran-backed groups in Iraq and Syria. The US military struck dozens of targets in Syria and Iraq overnight on Friday into Saturday in retaliation for a 28 January drone attack on a base in Jordan that killed 3 US soldiers. The strikes, which targeted elite Iranian units and pro-Iranian militant groups, have led to fears that the ongoing Israel-Hamas war in Gaza could spiral into a regional conflict. China's ambassador Zun Zhang similarly claimed that the US actions will certainly exacerbate the vicious cycle of its tit-for-tat violence in the West Asia. Anger over Israel's devastating campaign in Gaza has grown across the West Asia, stoking violence involving Iran-backed groups in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria and Yemen. A UN official called for all parties to step back from the brink and to consider the unbearable human and economic cost of a potential regional conflict. The American strikes have drawn criticism from the governments of Iraq and Syria, and also from Iran, which denies any role in last month's drone attack.
Their decision and actions are motivated by their legitimate.
Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Saudi Arabia today, his first stop in a wider tour of the Middle East as Washington tries to advance negotiations on a normalization deal between the kingdom and Israel, as well as make progress on talks for the governance of post-war Gaza. The top US diplomat's fifth trip to the region comes at a perilous moment and amid retaliatory US strikes on Iran-backed militia across Syria, Iraq and Yemen in response to a drone strike last week in Jordan that killed 3 American troops and wounded dozens. Landing the Saudi capital Riyadh amid Washington's retaliatory attacks, Blinken will nevertheless try to reinforce the message that the Biden administration neither seeks war with Iran nor wants the conflict to spread further. In Riyadh, Blinken meets with the kingdom's de facto ruler, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and his Saudi counterpart, Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud. Blinken is also set to visit Egypt, Qatar and Israel this week and push to advance the Egyptian and Qatari-mediated conversations with Hamas to achieve a hostage deal. The veteran diplomat's latest trip to West Asia comes at a time senior US officials described as one of the most dangerous the region has seen in decades. The conflict has escalated as Iran-backed groups have entered the fray and fired on US forces in Iraq and Syria, while Yemen Houthis have attacked shipping routes in the Red Sea. Millions of people faced dangerous flooding in California Monday after a storm brought record rains and gusting winds, leaving at least 1 person dead. The US National Weather Service warned of life-threatening flash flooding caused by excessive rainfall, especially in the southern part of the state, as a so-called atmospheric river came ashore from the Pacific Ocean. Governor Gavin Newsom said this is a serious storm with dangerous and potentially life-threatening impacts as he declared the state of emergency for 8 counties in Southern California. Areas under the emergency order include Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego and Santa Barbara. According to the NWS, another 5 to 8 inches of rain were expected to fall around the Los Angeles area Monday, bringing the total amount of rain in the last 48 hours to up to 8 to 14 inches in some areas. Downtown Los Angeles saw one of its wettest days ever with more than 4 inches of rain. Local NWS office advised residents on social media to avoid travel if all possible due to the extremely dangerous situation. In Northern California, a man was killed when one of the state's iconic redwood trees fell on him in his backyard, according to the police in the city of Yuba near Sacramento. The storm is part of a Pineapple Express, a weather phenomenon born out of tropical moisture near Hawaii. The NWS described it as the largest storm of the season. Up next, tense atmosphere in and outside of Senegal's parliament following election delay. Stay tuned. Senegalese lawmakers yesterday voted to delay this month's presidential election until December, an unprecedented move that has sparked international concern over a country normally seen as a beacon of stability in West Africa. After hours debating the postponement, and after police forcibly removed some opposition deputies from the chamber, lawmakers adopted the measure in the late evening hours. The law contains a provision to keep President Macky Sall in office until his successor is installed. The mood in Parliament was tense by early afternoon, with some deputies shoving and pushing one another, leading to a temporary recess. Earlier, security forces outside used tear gas to disperse small groups of opposition protesters, with demonstrators chanting "Macky Sall dictator." The atmosphere in Senegal has been tense since Saturday, when Sall announced a delay to the 25th February vote just hours before campaigning was officially set to begin. Violence has previously broken out in Senegal over fears Sall would try to extend his tenure beyond the end of his second term, and he has previously insisted he would not. The sporadic clashes outside Parliament were a rare sight in a normally calm area of downtown Dakar, where police and security forces backed up by heavy vehicles were mobilized to protect Parliament. Residents and political leaders in Bosnia on Monday marked the 30th anniversary of the deadliest attack of the Bosnian Serb siege of Sarajevo during the country's brutal civil war. The strike on Mattei market on 5th February 1994 in downtown Sarajevo that left 67 dead and more than 140 wounded has long been considered the worst attack during the multi-year siege of the capital by Bosnian Serb forces. Attendees laid wreaths and flowers at the foot of a white stone monument, the site of the explosion during the ceremony. Recalling the incident, Vahika Tiko, 72, said it was a beautiful sunny day. The scenes of a relative normality, however, quickly turned violent after shells from a Serb hilltop position crashed down on the market. Fazila Smovic, who was among the hundreds who came to pay respect at Markhill, said her sister Hasija was among those killed. More than a year later, a second strike near the market killed dozens more. It was this attack that triggered the NATO bombing campaign against Bosnian Serb military targets that was crucial in bringing an end to the war. During the 44 months of the siege of Sarajevo, more than 11,000 people were killed in the capital, including several hundred children. Nearly 100,000 people were killed during the war across Bosnia and 2 million displaced. Sri Lanka expects to attract about 5 billion in foreign funds in the next 2 years once it is able to finalize the restructuring of its overseas debt. The nation defaulted on its overseas debt in May 2022 after a severe shortage of foreign exchange reserves triggered the worst financial crisis in independence from Britain in 1948. Sri Lanka has since made progress on about $11 billion of bilateral debt restructuring and hopes to have agreements in place with all key creditors, including bondholders, by May. It will then focus on kick-starting major infrastructure projects suspended during the crisis, including a highway, an expansion of the main airport near Colombo, and a $2 billion light railway project with Japan.
So all put together, we are looking at within the next 12 to 24 months, somewhere in the region of about 5 billion worth of foreign currency infusion into the country in terms of projects and all those things, and also from the sale of some of the state-owned enterprises.
Sri Lanka's private creditors account for about $16 billion of debt, including international sovereign bonds. The country secured a $2.9 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund (IMF) last March, helping to temper inflation, increase state revenue, and rebuild foreign exchange reserves. Dozens of Italian farmers with tractors started gathering Monday on the edge of Rome, vowing a major demonstration to pressure the government to improve their working conditions. Italy is one of a number of countries across Europe where farmers have staged weeks of demonstrations to demand lower fuel taxes, better prices for their products, and an easing of EU environmental regulations that they say makes it more difficult to compete with cheaper foreign produce. Around 50 tractors from Tuscany headed towards the Via Momentana, a main road in the central Rome, where they were expected Monday evening. Andrea Papa, co-founder of the Agricultural Renewal Movement, said between 1,500 and 2,000 tractors are expected by Friday. Around 200 tractors also gathered near a motorway in Turin. The farmers are demanding a meeting with a government minister. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said the farmers' anger was caused by the environmental transitions that she said hits farmers' life. The far-right leader regularly criticizes EU regulation as an attack on Italy's agricultural interests. But she highlighted how EU agricultural aid to Italy had increased 5 to 8 billion euros following a renegotiation. 2 migrants were killed and at least one was taken to hospital in serious condition after a boat carrying 104 people was rescued off the island of Spain's Gran Canaria. Spanish Coast Guard brought the dead bodies ashore at Argentinas port while the injured were transported to hospital via helicopter. Through data released by the country's Interior Ministry on 1st February, the number of migrants from West Africa who braved the sea in fragile boats to reach Spain's Canary Islands jumped more than 1,000% in January from a year ago. A total of 7,270 irregular migrants reached the archipelago in the Atlantic Ocean between 1 to 31 January, a nearly 13-fold increase from the 566 in the same month in 2023. The change of islands off Africa's northwestern coast, one of Spain's most popular tourist destinations, was the entry point for 39,910 migrants last year, an all-time record. 14 people suspected to be involved in a vast network which manufactured and resold weapons created from 3D printers were arrested last month in France and Belgium. Marseille prosecutor's office on Monday said 8 3D printers, 7 complete 3D weapons as well as 24 conventional weapons were seized in the operation. The head of the network, a 26-year-old man who had been convicted of a drug-related offence in the past, is a French national and was arrested in Belgium during the operation. Colonel Hervé Petry, head of France's National Cyber Unit, said the suspect shared a libertarian mentality as part of the American pro-arms movement, whose goal is to spread weapons to as many people as possible to protect themselves from the state which they consider to be totalitarian and oppressive. In order to avoid controls, the parts manufactured using a 3D printer was sent separately to the buyer. Colonel Petry said the weapons are of good or even very good quality and 95% close to the original model. They could then be resold for between 1,000 and 1,500 euros. In addition to the suspects, 6 others were imprisoned, 5 were placed under judicial supervision and 1 was placed in pre-trial detention. All are between 18 and 30 years of old and some have criminal records. Among them, some were involved in the manufacture of weapons, others serve as intermediaries and others as resellers. Foden scores a hat-trick in 3-1 wins against Brentford. That and more in our sports segment.
TNB Liga Hoki Malaysia 2024. Rabu 7 Februari, Malaysia University bertemu Negeri Sembilan 6 petang. Dan PHD bertemu Tenaga Nasional Berhad 8.30 malam di saluran OK dan saluran sukan RTM. Juga saksikan secara langsung di RTM Klik.
Kicking off our sports segment this afternoon, Phil Foden is enjoying his best season at Manchester City after the England international scored a hat-trick to beat Brentford 3-1, leaving Premier League's top 3 separated by just 2 points. City move alongside Arsenal on 49 points, 2 behind Liverpool, but Guardiola's men have a game in hand to move out in front. The defending champion became the first side in Premier League history to win 4 consecutive away games despite falling behind in all of them. Neil Mattei fired the Bees in front against a run of play, but there was little doubt over the outcome once Foden levelled in first half stoppage time. Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland then teed up the England international to complete his second career hat-trick after the break. City's rival for the title may rue not opening up an advantage, while De Bruyne and Haaland were sidelined by injury in recent months as they look primed to become the first side to ever win 4 consecutive English top flight titles. Defeat leaves Brentford still just 3 points above the relegation zone. Arsenal's 3-1 victory over Liverpool on Sunday kept the Gunners in race for their first league title in 20 years. But that result also played into City's hand, and they remain the team to beat as the business end of the season approaches. Jurgen Klinsmann said his South Korea team are determined to prove the doubters wrong when they face semi-final debutants Jordan at the Asian Cup on Tuesday. Led by Son Heung-min, South Korea are attempting to win the title for the first time since 1960, but they appear determined to do it the hard way in Qatar. Klinsmann, who won the World Cup as a player for Germany, is yet to win over South Koreans fans and media, but told his men on Monday to block out any negativity. South Korea will be favourites to beat Jordan, the lowest-ranked team left in the competition, and reach Saturday's final, with Iran or holders Qatar awaiting them. But South Korea and Jordan drew 2-2 in the group phase, with the Koreans salvaging a point with an injury-time own goal.
Is our group stage game with Jordan that they played very, very well. You know, they scored 2 goals against us, so we need to avoid, obviously, Jordan to score again. And they're very special players, as you say. You know, they're very special individual players that we are aware of that can hurt you in a split second.
They also needed penalty to see off Saudi Arabia and beat Australia in extra time in the quarterfinals, with Son scoring the winner. Klinsmann may not be universally popular despite taking South Korea to the last 4, but he said, "I want to do well for Korea and give this team all the knowledge and experience that I have." Organisers of a Hong Kong football match which drew boos after star man Lionel Messi failed to play say they deeply regretted on the incident and would withdraw a bid for a $2 million government grant. Tatler's Asia CEO read out a statement on Monday evening confirming Messi had been contracted to take the field unless injured in a pre-season friendly in Hong Kong. Instead, the 8-time Ballon d'Or winner, who has a leg muscle strain, stayed on the bench throughout Inter Miami's 4-1 win against a Hong Kong Select Z. The match ended with Messi, his Inter Miami team and club co-owner David Beckham being booed off by nearly 40,000 irate fans who had shelled out large sums to see the World Cup winning captain play.
On Sunday, before kick-off, the official team sheet, a list of the players who are available to play in the game, which was submitted by the Inter Miami CF team and signed by the head coach Gerardo Martino, showed Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez as substitute and therefore fit to play. Accordingly, Tatler Asia had every expectation that both would play the game.
That, however, appeared to contradict Hong Kong's sport minister, who told reporters earlier on Monday that government officials had been repeatedly assured Messi would play even after half-time. It was not until 10 minutes from the final whistle that they were informed that Messi's injury, inflammation of an adductor muscle, would keep him out. Hong Kong's Consumer Council said it had received 38 complaints from 29 residents and 9 overseas visitors about the match by midday on Monday. They involve a total of over $27,000 spent, with the largest individual complaint amounting to $2,855. In tennis, Lorenzo pulled through a topsy-turvy start to notch an ultimately straightforward first-round win Monday at the Open 13 Provinces in Marseille. The 6-seeded Italian overcame Maximillian 6-4, 6-2 to improve to 4-love in opening rounds for the 2024 season. Musetti converted 5 of 14 break points he earned, according to Infosys ATP stats, to set a second-round clash with 2008 Marseille champion Andy Murray or Thomas Musetti. Musetti let slip a 2-love lead in the first set against Mattei before rallying from a breakdown at 3-4 to move ahead in his maiden Lexus ATP head-to-head meeting with Mattei. He then reeled off 4 games in a row from 2-2 in the second set to wrap up a 1-hour 48-minute triumph. In another match, Spaniard Roberto Bautista Agut also advanced into the second round to beat Frenchman Richard Gasquet 6-3, 7-5. Bautista Agut, ranked number 102, will play number 3 seed Karen Khachanova next. Meanwhile, Alexander Shevchenko spoiled the party from the home fans after beating Benjamin Bonzi 7-6, 6-4. The 23-year-old Shevchenko, who is now number 56 in the Pepperstone ATP rankings after reaching the quarterfinals in Montpellier last week, will next take on defending champion and top seed Hubert Hurkacz. In F1, leading heavy equipment manufacturer Komatsu has signed a multi-year deal with Williams Racing to become the principal partner of the British team from the start of the 2024 season. Komatsu logo and branding will be featured prominently on the 2024 Williams Racing livery, as well as the team overall and kit. Komatsu was a key partner of Williams Racing in Formula 1 during the 1980s and 1990s, a period of abundant success for the team. The most notable achievement were in 1996 and 1997 when Komatsu supported Williams Racing to Constructor and Drivers' Championship with Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve, respectively. Williams Racing is one of the world's most iconic Formula One teams. The British outfit has been competing at the highest level for almost 5 decades, amassing 114 victories, 313 podiums, and 128 pole positions in that time. Williams Racing has also won 9 Constructors' Championship, making them the second most successful team in the history of the sport. Red Bull Formula One team boss Christian Horner is under investigation following an accusation of inappropriate behaviour. If it's understood, the allegation was made by another member of staff for the British-based team, which last year carried Max Verstappen to his 3rd consecutive World Championship.
Yeah, they had a
Horner, 50, who has been Red Bull team principal since 2005, strongly rejects the accusation. Red Bull in a statement said the company has launched an independent investigation to look into the allegations. Horner has overseen 7 drivers' World Championship and 6 constructors' titles. Red Bull won 21 of the 22 races staged last year, with Verstappen setting a record of 10 consecutive victories as he cruised to his 3rd straight title. Red Bull are due to launch their latest car on 15 February, ahead of the new season, which starts in Bahrain on 2nd March. And with that, we reach the end of this afternoon's bulletin. And our top story today, King Charles III undergoing treatment after diagnosed with cancer. Do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. and on TV1 in Saluran Berita RTM for more news. Before you leave, here's a clip of a shifting vortex of spotlights and a mirror room filled with ethereal wobbling orbs in a labyrinth display at the 330-meter Azabudai Hills building in central Tokyo. I'm Syed Samshuddin from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free.